I get to say something here, which is basically going to be, I wanted to put the phone number on there, but you see how that's going. Anyway, Bobby Williams here, Bob4Gov, simulcasting YouTube and Facebook. Woo-hoo, I got my other monitor over here on that, and it's kind of making me feel like I should look over that way, even though both of the cameras are here. I'm telling you, this whole show business thing is initially is harder than it looks. Although I'm kind of having a great time with it, I really am. Got a new barber today. Wow, and she did a good job. And hey, I found after so many years of not finding somebody that does a professional hot towel, facial massage, shave, I have got a new barber that does it. And I ain't telling anybody who it is. Okay. I'm not telling anybody. Ain't is a Southern word. Okay. Um, and I'm proud to be here, proud to be Southern. Today's subject is going to be finance, but it's going to be the long-term thinking in finance. And, political systems are just not designed in our country to be long-term uh, encouraged, encouraged long-term, I should say. Everything that our politicians do, and I'm pointing finger at Georgia and everywhere else in this country, is short think. Okay, it is like it's the political equivalent of somebody robbing a liquor store. Get in, get out, get in the car, and punch it and go. Because they know they committed a crime or they did something stupid, but if they can get away just far enough, that then the populace will stop thinking about it, and it's almost the same thing as not having done it at all, or having gotten the money and got it for free. And certainly that goes on in our politics, because and it's the taxpayer, it's the guy out here schlepping to work every morning and paying his state taxes to Georgia, and his all this FICA to God only knows what they're going to do with that. Because it's not going to be there when I get there. So if you're younger than me, you just forget about that whole Social Security check thing, because all it is now is just money that they're printing fast as they can go. And see, that's another secret of their success. As long as you don't run out, nobody comes to look. So you got things going on in Washington, and with our and I'm going to use the term loosely, money. Loosely. And I'm going to teach you something about money today that you don't know. I warn you, once I teach this to you, you're never going to be the same again. Okay. Never going to be the same again. You'll never be able to look at a dollar bill or a $20 bill or $100 bill the same way you did before I teach you this. Okay. So if you don't want to do that, get out of here now. Get away. Go away fast. Run away. Run away. Because Bob is on a teaching mode today, and money is a in the Bible it says that the love of money is the root of all evil. And if politicians don't love money, there's just not a cow in Texas. Okay, it's all about, again, grab it, do it, blow it, spend it, buy votes with it, do whatever you want to do. Our communists in the, I actually think the communist has been replaced by a right-handed guy now. But there's Stacey Abrams. She doesn't know how to handle her own money. She decides to take the money that she's supposed to pay to the government and uses it for what she referred to as to take care of her parents' medical bills. Well, let me tell you something. That wasn't her money, okay? It wasn't her money. It belonged to the United States government. And to take that money and do anything with it except pay the United States government is a slap in the face to every one of the people out here like me that has to pay their taxes every year. And I pay plenty of taxes. All right. I mean, between my wife and I, we buy somebody a house every year. I'm telling you, this has got to. If you can elect a person who is so irresponsible with their money is to handle it in that fashion and let Uncle Sam be the last guy to get paid. And I don't know what the fines and penalties and all that stuff, but she's a tax lawyer, okay? She knows better than this. She's using this system. She is manipulating the system because she's a tax lawyer, because she's didn't want to pay it, because she's African American. She thinks they're not going to come after her. Well, there's a lot of evidence of that. You look at Charlie Rangel in Congress, and God only knows who else. If all you got to be, if you want to not have people come and persecute you in this country for taxes, is be African American. Okay, let's face it. If I was paying my girlfriend out of my 501c3 receipts for her and my baby, and I did all that and got caught doing it, more than likely I'd be in jail or getting fined up the kazoo. Okay, but if you're African American and you're in the news and you're in that kind of situation, you get a pass. Okay, it ain't right. It's just not right. I don't. If I'm not racist, if I'm not going to sit here and say, I can't help what color skin I was born with. Okay, I'm comfortable in the one I got, and I really encourage everybody out there to whatever you got. If you're looking in the mirror and and your kisser is browner than mine is, learn to love it. Okay, you got it. Here you are. You got you won the lottery. Okay, you got here. You're healthy. You're an American. Okay, you're in the greatest country in the world. You got the most opportunity of anybody in the world. People are crawling over fences and swimming rivers to get into this country. And a lot of folks out there are sitting there looking at the mirrors and, well, I'm American. The man's always after me. You know what? The man's after me. I'm white. I'm Anglo-Saxon. I'm Protestant. And I've been getting discriminated against by my own country since 1965. All right. Everybody else in this country drive through the parking lot of an American bank, they'll throw SBA loan through the window. Okay, not me. I have to go out here and schlep it and get and work in businesses all my career with too little capital till you finally pile up enough to get something going on with that, and just try to get it done right. And wish I could get this thing to work right. Anyway, Bob4Gov. I don't want to represent just white people or just Republicans or just Democrats or fascist or communist. If you take the job, you got to ride for the brand. Okay, you got to look at what you got here in Georgia. 47% of our population in Georgia is African American. I use that term loosely, okay, because I don't categorize myself as a German American or Irish American or Native American, even though I do have Native American heritage. I'm American. Okay, I am a citizen of the United States of America. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm not a citizen with a small c or not. I am a citizen, capital C, of the United States of America, and the Constitution that puts me. Every word of that Constitution applies to me. Every word of it, the preamble, everything. Same with the Declaration of Independence. I wasn't there to sign it, but I approve of it. Okay. And when you start looking at things in the long picture, which is getting back to the subject here, the long picture of this program, we are, as taxpayers, as capital C citizens of the United States of America, we have been taken advantage of for so many years. And, we like a mushroom, kept in the dark and fed crap, that we've become accustomed to it. We've become kind of, it no longer gets the reaction from us that it should. Um, I got a friend that says that you can't borrow yourself out of debt and you cannot drink yourself sober. And he's right. The politicians playing these games, they're borrowing money by the trillions. Trillion. You know how many zeros that is? That's $1,000 billion. And they're talking about it like, well, Obama doubled our national debt, more than doubled it in the 8 years that he was in there. What a failure from a financial standpoint. Okay. He also got filthy rich. I don't know where all that money came from, but somebody needs to be digging into that. He went in there barely able to pay attention and came out filthy rich. His wife's filthy rich. They're jet setting around the world with palaces here and there that they own. Something's not right about that. I'm paying for it. Wrong. It's a system. They just know that if they can keep it up, they can keep it up a little bit longer. That your attention span's only, this big. If they can keep it up just past that attention span, you're gone. Right? And it's same with the truth of the people that are running for the office in this state right now. Brian Kemp's got himself in a ringer there about money that he borrowed from a private investor to put into some kind of seed crushing business. I'm not altogether certain how he was taking care of our business as Secretary of State. When he's over there starting up businesses all over in Kentucky and so on to crush canola seeds and do whatever you do when you do that. Get canola oil out of them, I guess. But in the private loan, I don't have but one question: did he use his position as Secretary of State of the state of Georgia to influence people to give him private money into the business venture that he has? And I can't hardly see how they did not. They knew he was Secretary of State. Okay. If you attract investors based upon what your position is, you have to be real careful that it didn't cross over. And I think there are probably some explainable ways to say, well, how he did his finance. But did you use your position to influence somebody that would have not otherwise given you that money? That's my question. And really hard to answer that question. No, it really is. Stacey Abrams, and I don't want anybody that handles their money the way she does to handle mine. I really don't. Forget about the fact that she wants to tax you to death to give money to people that don't deserve it. She wants to come in and start messing with Georgia firearms laws and stuff. Let me tell you something. I'm a Second Amendment proponent. That means I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. I will not have Georgia or Georgians messed with in their right to keep and bear arms. I won't be messed with by Stacey Abrams in the fact this everything you want to talk about with firearms is BS as on a state level, because I'm telling you right now, it is a national right. It's the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, and the state law does not step on that. So, you talk about it all you want to, and the NRA runs over and gets on the far right, and everybody that's anti-gun goes over on the far left. You don't have problems with guns in Georgia. The problem with guns in Georgia is that everybody needs to be packing one, so that when the time comes that you need it, you got terrorist attack, robbery, home invasion, all that kind of stuff. Shoot them dead. Shoot them dead. That's why they make guns that hold more than one bullet. Make sure you kill them. There are worthless people that come in there and do home invasions, break into your house at night, steal things from you, or just do the crazy things like robberies in your business, or stealing kids and those kind of things. those people cannot be rehabilitated. They need to be executed. If we don't do it, who will? You don't see them running around in Georgia doing some of the things you see them do in Massachusetts and Chicago. Look at Chicago. Got more gun laws than you could possibly imagine. And they're leading the nation in gun violence. Now, what's wrong with that picture? If everybody on the street out there that's law-abiding people in Chicago had the same number of guns that the thugs have, it would all go away. The thugs would have to leave somewhere or they'd be dead before you know it. And that's what, that's how Georgia stays. You don't see them running into a NASCAR game, a NASCAR bunch, with a box cutter going to hijack something. It just don't happen. You don't see them doing it in Georgia much, I'm telling you. Most of the people in Georgia are ready for that stuff and they'll fight. Okay. Georgians got a history of that. So let's get back to money. What is money? You think it's that Federal Reserve note in your pocket? Man, the Federal Reserve. Okay, here's what I'm going to teach you that you're not going to get over if you just listen. You probably think the Federal Reserve Bank is an actual part of the United States government system, and you couldn't be further wrong. The Federal Reserve Bank is the bastard child of a bunch of bankers who got together in the early 1900s, secretively went to Jekyll Island, Georgia from New York, and got out on that island in a private place and thought this whole thing through, that they would come back and get the Federal Reserve, they'd name it the Federal Reserve, so it had that implied official category, and they would bring that back as a central bank, which the United States did not have a central bank at the time, didn't need one. The Treasury printed the money, coined the money out of gold and silver, copper, and everybody was happy. We didn't owe anybody any money. So that wasn't any good because the bankers in that cabal couldn't get their hands on the finance of this country and figure out how they were going to make any money off of the system. So a country that was taking in taxes in the coin of the realm, in gold and in paper money, and was able to pay its bills from those proceeds, didn't owe anybody any money, had money in the bank, went from that system to a system that the Federal Reserve put in, so that every dollar that we use, those dollars being now Federal Reserve notes. Look at the top of the bill. It says Federal Reserve note. That means it's a debt. Note is a debt. So when we take that Federal Reserve note from the Federal Reserve and we use it as currency in our system, the United States government has to pay for that. They have to pay an interest to the Federal Reserve Bank for every dollar that's distributed out here. Every one that's held in the bank, everyone that's buried in your backyard or wherever you got it, interest is being paid on that, not just the actual physical dollars, the cash, but anything in that system. Most money nowadays is just electronic, okay? Probably less than 2% of the money on the planet is actually currency, United States currency. The rest of it is just, zeros and ones in a computer system. But we're paying what's called the discount rate. Now, those bankers are slick, aren't they? They pay the discount rate to the Federal Reserve Bank, which is right now, 2%? So they're sitting there on their ass collecting 2% on trillions of dollars that are out there in circulation and doing nothing for that money. And they'll get together and they'll have they got 12 reserve banks in the United States, the Federal Reserve banks. and they're all owned by a cabal of foreign bankers. Okay, they're not from around here. Okay, there's all kinds of different names in that now because it's the various different marriages and different things. But the Rothschild family was the originators of these banks and the Bank of England and all over Europe, and then got into big time over here in the United States as it was going through. But banks have manipulated the money supply from the earliest days of business. You'll find people writing back at Thomas Jefferson wrote about the fact that banks were more dangerous than foreign armies. And if we ever let anybody get a hold of do our central banking, that we would be, servants of theirs, which we are. Okay. Back in the 20s, we had a depression. In the 30s, by executive order, Franklin Roosevelt made it illegal for Americans to own gold. Up to that point, gold was money. You could have a $20 gold piece in your pocket, and that $20 gold piece was money no matter where you went in the world. It didn't make any difference where you were. A gold coin is a gold coin. Well, no, we just can't have that. See, we're gonna get them. Americans had to turn in their gold, and they did by the millions. And all this gold was ostensibly melted down and put into ingots, and then what? It was given to the Federal Reserve Bank in Washington to refinance the U.S. government, which is a corporation, not a sovereign nation. It is a U.S. government. So here we are in a sovereign state in Georgia, managed by a corporation in Washington that uses a cabal of international bankers to produce the money that we transact with every day. And that should it come as any surprise to you then that over that period of time since 1913, where the original communist president of this country, Woodrow Wilson, helped his friends in the banking business get the Federal Reserve slip through at a time in their voting cycle that many of people were not present, slipped through that Federal Reserve Act and made them the de facto central bankers for the United States. Now, Donald Trump, everybody else, it's like, who else in the world has just tried to do away with that system? No, Trump's working on it. I don't know if he'll be successful or not. Generally, people that come out against the Federal Reserve System and dollars, petrodollars, which all oil in the world is transacted in dollar bills. So you have to change your money into dollars before you can buy oil from Arabs or whatever. And it's kept our currency somewhat valuable. But Muammar Gaddafi decided he wanted to do a gold dinar, and boy, next thing you know, he's on the outs and running across the countryside with Hillary on her broom trying to catch him, and caught him and killed him. His only real mistake was coming up against the Federal Reserve Bank. Maybe it's mine too, okay? But I'm telling you right now, Federal Reserve Bank's wrong for us. It is. What we need to do as a state, we can't go in there as a state and upset their apple cart. Believe me, they're powerful people. But what we can do as a state is create a secondary system, another system of barter and exchange that our citizens can use. People from outside of our state can use to purchase and deal with folks in the state of Georgia. And what I'm talking about is creating a cyber currency, not a lot different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin drives everybody crazy because it's got such a relative value based upon who's buying and who's selling. And while I intellectually understand that, I don't trust it at all. No, I'm saying that we should do a gold-backed cyber currency here in the state of Georgia, so that our citizens can at least put a little bit of money over into that and be assured that no matter what happens to the dollar in the greater scheme of things, that we have the ability to have something get the old jing and we can buy groceries with and everything if the manure hits the oscillating ventilator. And Georgia would also accept that in payment for its state and in sales taxes and that kind of thing, which legitimizes the currency completely. The fact that we'd have gold on deposit in Georgia banks to back that would also be a strong piece of legitimacy. Let me tell you something about gold and the in 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard. He got impeached for having people in the office building breaking in over and stealing records, but he should have been lined up against the wall and shot for decoupling the dollar from the gold standard. And the reason I say that is it opened up the floodgates for us to just create a bigger and bigger money supply from thin air. All right. The reason he did it is because he'd already done a good bit of that thin air business, financing the Vietnam War without taxing us to death. So he was either facing raising taxes very substantially to pay off that debt and get that money supply back, or doing this, which he knew it was suicide politically to raise the taxes that much. So he took the easy way out. And what happened to you? What happened to you, the citizen, in this short-term think that Richard Nixon had? So he knew he'd be out of office. He didn't know he was going to get thrown out, but he knew he'd be out of office and gone before. A little short hairs after you get a haircut drives you crazy, huh? He knew he'd be gone long before it was time to pay the piper for his actions on this. But in 1975 is really the reference point I had here. Just a few years after the change, a gallon of gasoline cost 39 cents. Okay. Gold in 1975 was about $50, give or take a little bit. All right, now let's fast forward to 2018, and a gallon of gasoline that I bought this morning was $3.07. Okay, $3.07 a gallon. Now, gold in 2018, that was a pretty low quote this morning. This is actually $1,212 per ounce. So if you'll ratio that out, gold has either appreciated, or more accurately, that gasoline has. It's the same. Gold's the same. So what had to change? The only other variable in this is the dollar. And just on that really, really low gold price, that's 308%. So whatever you had in dollars, if you had some dollars, banked up back then or buried in the backyard in 1975, and you go dig them up right now, they'll buy 308% less today than they would in 1971. Whatever it was you were going to buy, you should have bought it then. Basically, what 2 cents would buy in 1900 requires $1 today. 2 pennies of a $1900 would buy what it takes $1 to buy today. Now, that's a long time. It's a couple of lifetimes. But when you're working yourself hard and you're putting things away and you save money so that one of these days your kids can have a little inheritance, and maybe they can, don't want them to be able to sit on their butt and do nothing, but for them to have a little better quality of life because you left them something, that would be nice after a lifetime of work and paying taxes and doing right. It ain't gonna happen. You know what their great grandfather left for them in 1900 that they collect right now. You know, it would have had to have had some incredible interest treatment and tax treatment over those years for it to even be close to being the same. Okay. But bottom line, 308%. Now, there's a lot of people that, you look at this, your dollar shrank 300% in the last 45 years. That money, that wealth, what happened to that is it didn't just shrink. Okay. What happened is politicians increased the money supply. The Federal Reserve Bank increased the money supply so much that the real value of the money is taken in terms of something solid like an ounce of gold has been just diluted. Like if you could paint the wall and, so you put some paint thinner in there and to get it working good and it's the right consistency and everything. You look around and say, well, it would take 10 gallons of paint to paint this wall. Okay. So I'm going to pour, 9 gallons of paint thinner in here and we're going to have 10 gallons of paint. The fact that it doesn't cover a thing, it will be a signal that you made a wrong decision. With cash, with money, it doesn't happen that way because it's going out here, it's going out there. As long as the people out there are getting the money and, a little inflation, so they got a raise on their salary and everything, there hasn't been any real improvement in take-home pay in this country in over 20 years. Since go back to Clinton getting in office. No real change in take-home pay. That's a long time. You're getting more dollars. But, in 1992, gas only cost $1 or less. Okay, now it's over $3. Hang around, soon to be $6, probably, right? If you get a Democrat in there, they ain't got a clue what to do with it. And the Republicans, all they want to do is get in there and steal as much as they can while they're at it. Help their friends. Yeah, there's no clean person in that process has been in there very long. I think gold is, a lot of people believe that gold is being manipulated a lot now, and I'm one of them. I think that gold and silver prices in the commodities market are very, 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 three varies on that, manipulated. Gold should be about $10,000 an ounce based upon the facts and figures of how much is out there. I mean, in essence, every piece of gold that's ever been found in the history of the world is still around somewhere. People, such valuable stuff, people watch out for it. And if you took all of it and melded it down into a block, it would be a block about 60 yards on a side. Okay, it's gonna be a cube 60 yards on a side. Now, it weighs an incredible amount, but it's not that big. It's not that much. Okay, so as the world expands and the number of people on it have expanded since I've been alive, there's an extra 2 billion people on the planet. Okay, where the hell did all that come from? So if you take them and you say, okay, well, there's a certain number of resources in the world and a certain amount of wealth, and if you just keep dividing their desire to have some of that wealth by the amount of total gold there is in the world, you can't help but see that it's the supply is staying essentially static, and the number of people that want it are growing. Then it has to get more valuable, and it hasn't, not remarkably. I mean, back in that 1980, gold got up to about $850 an ounce. And then it went back down to the doldrums for as low as, under 200 for many, many years. And it's all because people manipulate it in the government. They don't want dollar to be any more challenge than it is now. But if you take that $10,000 figure for an ounce of gold, you've had 3,200% devaluation of your money over that period of time, which is, I think, the more actual fact than the 300%. But either one of them are really sorry figures. 3,200% less worth less than what you got in there. The dollars you got right now, they're essentially worthless. Okay. As soon as somebody stops taking them, the only thing that keeps legitimacy on the dollar is the fact that you got to pay your taxes in dollars. Stacey Abrams, you got to pay it in dollars. You can't pay it in bitcoins or good intentions with your parents or everything. And I'm not criticizing her parents. I've got people in my family that need help too. But when it happens, and the economy of this country becomes decoupled from this implied legitimacy that it has enjoyed for so many years since before World War II, then our dollar and our wealth in this position is going to fall like an elevator with a cable cut. Okay, it's going to go straight through the basement. The wealth of our nation is not present to haul us out like it did in 1933. We don't have that. You can't come out here with an edict from the president and just suck up resources. Although there are provisions for taking your 401k money and turning that into the government. And don't worry, they're going to give you government treasury bonds back in it. Here you go. Here's some bonds. We promise to pay you back with interest this money in 10 years. And oh, by the way, the money's worthless right now, and it's not going to be worth any less than that when it'll be worth a whole lot less when we come back to pay you. And we're going to print more money to pay you with. Okay. That's exactly what happens now. How many people in America understand that there's nobody buying our treasury bonds? Okay. It's going in one door and out the other, back around the back in the back door at the Federal Reserve Bank. They're working some kind of magic with a cloth over it. Poof. Okay. And all right, we issue a bond. There's another $1 trillion. Print them up, You don't even have to. You just go click, 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 and there's another $1 trillion on the books. So, and we pay this one, we pay that one, and they pay the bank, and it's all electronic. And as long as all the little zeros and ones add up and come to the end, and people haven't figured it out yet, then everything's cool. But as soon as somebody looks over and says, "Wait a minute," last year. I just paid a tax bill on a small piece of property. I bought it at auction 20 years ago. It's virtually worthless. It's a bad lot in a defunct subdivision up in Franklin County, Georgia. But I've been paying the taxes on it all those years. So I look at this thing and said, when I started paying taxes on this 20 years ago, it was $4 for that lot. Now it's 12. Nothing's changed about the lot. They didn't pave the road. They didn't, make any improvements. There's nothing about that location in that dirt that's worth any more today than it was then. And it's probably unsellable. Okay, except for some yuts that buys it at auction because he was at the auction anyway. But it's being taxed 3 times what it was just 15, 20 years ago when I bought it. What sense does that make? So now it costs 3 times more to live in Franklin County, Georgia. I can hardly see that. It's still a rural county in Georgia. But apparently they're spending money. It goes back to what I said. It's not long-term think in politics. It's short-term think, and it's just deadly for the taxpayer. You're still paying off loans for bridges and schools that aren't even being used anymore. Okay. And the politicians, and you probably got one like this in the area you're living in right now. I guarantee you, we've got some right here in Duluth where I'm at. It's where, in order to get bonding done on a debt and to obligate the taxpayers of that jurisdiction to pay that debt, you have to ask taxpayers permission for the city of Duluth or Gwinnett County to engage in that process, to buy that asset, or to build those schools, or to a bond issue has to be passed. Well, they got cute about it, and they figured out that if they would have somebody form a corporation and build, come in and get these bonds, and then build that asset and agree that they're paying the debt on the bonds, that the city can go back and lease the facility from this corporation, paying enough rent each month on this, or each year on this facility, so that they could pay off the debts, pay off the loans, pay off. It would be okay, except for the fact that they're paying a lot more than the debt service on the loans. Okay, they're paying off big time to the corporation. Sometimes many times what the annual debt service is for leasing that facility. Okay, now the question becomes, who owns the shares of that corporation? Who is that corporation in terms of its people? Who are getting the dividends or the stock splits or whatever they're getting out of that corporation that built the city hall, or built the county courthouse, or whatever else? And it is millions of dollars that are being misappropriated, legally misappropriated, over to corporations where they might not even be listed. People, if they're smart, corporations own that corporation, and it's going to be really hard to drill down to figure out who owns those. Maybe offshore corporations or something that you can get anonymously in, Panama or Belize or somewhere like that, so that the money's being paid out to politicians and lawyers and whoever's involved in that process, so that all they're really doing is they're converting your money into their money, and by the same token giving you a new courthouse to look at. So, and since you're only paying city taxes on a nice house around here, $400 or $500 a year, and it went from 300 to 450, and you didn't even bat an eye. You just paid it. Okay, taxes. Yeah. All right, but it probably only took a third of that to do the debt service on a properly done bond issue. All right, but they didn't do it that way, because there's no way they could have got their fingers into that. The money would have come in as taxes. It would have been paid to the bonding company, to the administrative company, to pay the bonds and the interest and on municipal bonds. Municipal bonds are quite frequently are owned by individuals, or a variety of places, but they're generally tax free in the state that they're done in. So they're advantaged in that respect, and that would have been a great thing. But the people would have had to approve building that new courthouse for $17 million before they could have done that. So didn't have to do that. All they had to do is go get somebody to start a corporation and come back and agree to lease that property to the city of Duluth. And the city of Duluth, I'm using Duluth as an example. I don't know that that's what it did. They spent a bunch of money, but it's a shortcut. On its face, it's a shortcut. In its depth, it's a crime. Okay, and it's happening all over Georgia. All over Georgia. Got a new prison in your county? Guess what? Doesn't belong to you. It belongs to a corporation who rents it or leases it to the county. And the county is collecting taxes to pay the lease fees over there so that they can pay the debt service on the notes and make a profit. Okay, doesn't belong to you. Doesn't belong to you, the taxpayer, even though you're paying for it. It didn't hit that. Well, how happy are you about that, huh? So when you pay off that loan, you're still going to be paying lease payments to that corporation, who probably has as its investors, the sheriff and everybody that's a lawyer in that county, and everybody that's a politician in that county that's sitting back and getting fat off of your tax dollars because you were dialing for dollars instead of watching out for your money. And you didn't have anybody out there that you could trust that couldn't be bent by the amount of money that was going on out there. All right. People are weak. They steal. Even the honest ones can't stand it, but for long, millions of dollars being ripped off from you in every county around that's building a new hospital. How about that hospital? Gwinnett County, Forsyth County, whatever else on that hospital. You probably don't own it. It probably belongs to a corporation that you rent it from, lease it from, and they're making gobs of money off of taxpayers having to do that debt service, having to pay that lease payment. Isn't that crazy? Nobody tells you this stuff, right? Got to come to Bob for this. All right, it's a governor's job to watch out for this kind of mess and to make sure people get prosecuted when they step on it. And we will find out under Bob4Gov.com. We will find out who every investor is in every cooperation that's going on between a public-private enterprise in the state of Georgia. We get to the bottom of it. If there are people in there that had an influence in that decision, people whose vote was influential in making that happen, people are going to go to jail. We're going to lock them up in that same damn jail that they built with your tax dollars. We've had a wealthy country. I think our wealth is actually improving now since we've finally got somebody in office that understands that we've got to compete against countries that finance their businesses as though it's a public company. Tariffs, they don't have tariffs. They just shove money underneath all those businesses in Germany and Japan. And you're dealing with Germany Incorporated, Japan Incorporated, China Incorporated, Finland Incorporated. You're not dealing with a private business that operates out of Germany. You're dealing with basically a fascist system where the German Republic and its finance are underpinning the huge companies in their country, like Bayer and Siemens and all these people. Impossible for an American company to compete on the same level with them around the world for a number of reasons, not the least of which is American companies have to come up with their own capital. Now, I know there's a lot of government things goes on with, especially with companies that are influential in the defense business, but it's not like it is overseas. Okay. And in order to make that playing field level requires tariffs. Okay. You may not like it, but it's true. Okay. You want to steal business in America? You want to put 500,000-600,000 steel workers on back into work? Good jobs that pay well, jobs that that put bread on their tables and send their kids to school. Yeah, then you got to do that. You can't have wealth without taking something from the ground and making it into something. Okay, you can count money as many times as you like. That's what this whole NBA thing threw us off the rails many years ago. And it doesn't matter how fancy you count the money, that just in time delivery, all that kind of stuff. Nobody's ever proven that just in time delivery has a damn thing to do with profitability. Never have. Okay. If you have some inventory of goods in process, it's still valuable. I mean, it shows on the books as an asset, right? So, and you got them there. You can make what you need to make out of them. You don't have failures. You don't have shutdowns because the delivery didn't get made because of the snow or the whatever. You got enough in the tank to run right on through the snowstorm. So all those things, the just-in-time deliveries, the extraordinary effort that goes into making business work hasn't really been proven to do one damn thing for making business more profitable. Maybe just a little here and there with you got interest on this, or you didn't pay until then. Yeah, but you're cooking the books, baby. Yeah, all you're doing is cooking the books. The reality of it is, you started with this much money, and at the end of the year, do you have more money than you had when you started? If the answer to that is no, then that's not good. If the answer to that is yes, then that's good. If it is yes, yes, then it's even better. Um, but we had a time in the world. My dad ran a body shop, and he ran a welding shop, and he was a fireman, and great guy. He wasn't the most understanding individual. Whenever you try to make an excuse about something, he was excuses and JC didn't get along. But yeah, he understood that he called it two bucket system. You take money out of one bucket and put it back in another bucket, and so it just goes around and around. And then at the end of the day, you just try to figure out whether you have more in the bucket now than you had before you started. And all too often that wasn't the case. But he told me one time he's trying to teach me how to weld, which I never did well. Okay, but I could do other things. I could paint cars, paint trucks, fix things that were broken, and I'm pretty good with fiberglass and all. So, but I told him, what do I need this for? I'm going to go to college and get a degree. You can do that. And he said, so you know what? You can never know how to do too many things. You can never understand how to do too many things that you never know what you end up having to do to get the prize that day. Yeah. And that has come back to me so many times when I've been around out in the world. And let me tell you something, the time that's the most important is when something didn't go right. Okay. Something happened, something didn't happen, something went wrong, and at the worst possible time. Murphy is the guy out there you got to watch for, right? Murphy's Law. And the ability to dig down deep and come up with an idea and implement that idea and get it wired up so that it'll work and that kind of thing has served me very, very well. Thank you, Dad. And I think that as a people, as a group in our world, in our land, if we will do the same thing, learn as much as we can, learn how to do as much as we can, then no matter what happens, like look down at Venezuela these days. Okay, hey, look at the news. Don't look at the communist news network. Go to Fox or somewhere and look at Venezuela. Go on the internet. Look at Venezuela. There's the socialist program down there in Venezuela. It's been going on for a number of years. The country is floating upon oil. Okay. One of the easiest places in the world to find oil. You just about can't not find it. Okay. In certain parts of that country. And yet people can't get enough to eat. A country that used to produce food for export, it can't produce enough food to feed the people that are there. Why is that? It's socialism. Socialism, central planning, that kind of thing does not work. The only system of economics in the world that has ever consistently worked for everyone, or most everyone, is capitalism. Capitalism, you know what? We get criticized because there's some tiny little fringe out here on the edge that doesn't get it. Most of them wouldn't work at a pie factory if you gave them every other pie. Okay, let's face it. We got a bunch of lazy bastards in this world. And then there's others that, for their mental condition or their health or whatever else, are not able. And, as a wealthy country, we can take care of those folks. The problem comes in deciding who's who. Okay, and who we're going to let decide that. Okay, because we put people over there that are incompetent, darn not incented to save us money. They're incented to sign people up on a welfare roll, put people on food stamps, doing all these things. Obama was the food stamp president. He put more people on the food stamp roll than anybody ever did. And for what? Most of them that he put on there didn't deserve it. They didn't qualify, really. They just went in there and asked for it and lied about it, got it. Okay. What about me, the taxpayer, for that? Okay. I go get in line in a grocery store and I'm trying to buy a hamburger and somebody in front of me is buying steaks with a damn peach card. Okay. Or buying all kinds of Twinkies and stuff like that. And they're so big now, they're riding in the scooter on the electric scooter going through the grocery store. And I'm paying for their health care and I'm paying for their diabetes medicines and everything else. The hell with that. People need to be responsible for themselves in a lot of respects. I believe in helping people. I believe in helping people that need it. Okay. I believe in helping the people that need it more than we are now. But what that's going to require is take the people who don't need it or don't deserve it off the roll. Get them out of there. Get the expense out. And who in the hell ever thought it was okay to take an illegal person just come across the border and ain't even dry yet and give them Social Security and give them child protective services and all these other things that we just throw money at them? There was some Muslim cat on the news a couple of days ago, had 4 wives and 22 kids and was collecting $360,000 a year in government benefits. That makes me mad enough to fight. That's ridiculous. And I'll tell you something. He's probably perfectly capable of working, and certainly with 22 kids, some of them can work. 4 wives, put them to work. 4 wives. Yeah. What can they be thinking? The next thing about that is it's just wrong. Okay, it's wrong. There are people out here kids that are going without things and old folks that can't afford their medicines and things like that deserve that money that we're, as an altruism of our country, is putting out there. Those folks need it. They need it. And they're not getting it because some guys come over here from Syria and plop down 22 kids and 4 wives and get $360,000 a year. He needs to be packed up and run the hell out of here. Not given $360,000. Wow. I want to see the people of Georgia. There's old people out here everywhere that need a ride to the doctor, need all kinds of things that $360,000 will pay for. Anyway, running a little over today. Got up on my stump. But hey, listen, thanks a lot for tuning in. Bob4Gov in Georgia. Bob4Gov, write-in candidate for the state of Georgia for governor. And we've got 2 dismal main party candidates. All right. So I'm down the middle, guys, right down the middle. Am I right about everything? Pretty close. I was wrong once. I thought I was wrong and turned out to be right. No, I'm just kidding around. But what I am telling you is I'm fair. I'm fair. And I want to do what the people of Georgia want done, not what I want done, not what the legislature wants to do. And I don't get to make that many decisions anyway as governor. I get to influence things. All right. And you get kind of a bully pulpit. But other than that, the legislature and the Senate make the laws, appropriate the money, and do the things that the state of Georgia needs to do. So I can help those men and women do that. And I can help get the point across to them on some things that need to be done. But Bob4Gov, write me in, click on the write in Bobby Williams, boom, we're there. You can go on our webpage at Bob4Gov.com, and there's a place there where you can click on it and register to vote. Very important. If you're not registered to vote, please go to Bob4Gov.com, click on that Secretary of State's button there, and register to vote so that you can make a difference in the state of Georgia. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Woohoo! Mm. Ron Queen, I hope you're still listening, brother. You got some good points on here. Means of exchange, store of value. There's the key. You know, a dollar bill is a store of nothing. Okay. Uh, and banking panics. They've happened over and over again. Again, it's a banking tool. Okay, it's a way of turning your hard-earned dollars into theirs. Other tools that they did back in those times were things